Xbox On. Welcome to Xbox On, a podcast with one host about one console, Xbox. I'm said host Jesse DeRosa, and on today's episode, we'll be talking about the latest Xbox news for the week of October 9th, 2025, including we have new details on a long-canceled Xbox game, Project Ranger. There's some good news for Game Pass subscribers outside of the US and UK. New info emerges regarding an abandoned Assassin's Creed project. All that and more. On this day in Xbox history, this week in Xbox history, you'll never get that right. In the year 2012, 13 years ago, Fable: The Journey was released. You know what? I feel like they should call this new Fable that's in indefinite development Fable: The Journey, or at least they should call the time between this game's rumors, announcements, and then release Fable: The Journey, because that's what it feels like we've all been on the past 674 years as we've waited for this new Fable game to come out. Fable: The Journey. What do you want me to say about Fable: The Journey? This is the, of course, the Xbox Connect Fable that no one gives a shit about, no one played. What was the Metacritic score of this? 63%. That's not bad, honestly. I just assumed it was like 24. But yeah, I don't know. I know nothing about Fable: The Journey. This is one of those, like, when it came out, I was just so tapped out on like anything that was like Connect. I couldn't care less. I was like, that's not why I do video games. And then when the Xbox One came out, I was like, fuck that. Connect's kind of cool because, you know, the novelty of like new console, new accessory that comes with the console, kind of shoehorning Connect into the Xbox One made me kind of be a little more open-minded to fucking around with it. And what I loved about Connect in the Xbox One era had nothing to do with using it for gaming. I never fucking did that. I never cared. It was using Connect as like an interface and supplemental like accessibility control kind of thing for navigating menus and interacting with the Xbox ecosystem. I loved it for that reason. Now, for playing video games, I don't know. I'm not a fucking nerd. Hang on just one second. I am a nerd. All right, I'm back. Where was I? I don't know. I had to take that call. So anyway, we are back, and Fable: The Journey, who cares? Okay, moving on, guys. Notable game releases of the week. Oh boy, this is it. This is the big one, the biggest one of the year. Battlefield 6 is out. Actually, the day this podcast goes live, we are one day away from release, Friday, October 10th. So it's kind of crazy how this went. We knew there was a Battlefield game coming for a while, and I was just like, yeah, whatever, another Battlefield game. I don't care, kind of whatever, because I haven't been like crazy about Battlefield, and probably since like Battlefield 3. That was the last time I was genuinely hyped about a Battlefield game. But dude, Battlefield 6 really snuck up on me because like I played that beta and just instantly fell in love with it. And I think it went from like a game where I was like, maybe I'll play, I'll probably try at some point, to like probably my most anticipated game of the year. I mean, just it's like every year when we do the Xbox On favorite games of the year kind of thing, I always base it on the games I just had the most fun with. And Battlefield 6 is just that. It's like the pure textbook definition of a game I just am having so much fun with based on the 20 plus hours I spent on the beta. So I suspect I'm going to love this game quite a bit by the time it comes out. And, you know, it's by no means revolutionary. There have been plenty of Call of Duty Battlefield style military shooter first person online games before. I have no expectation that this campaign is going to be anything to write home about. This game's not groundbreaking or profound or meaningful in any like serious way, but it is just a really damn fun online FPS game. So I'm just really looking forward to that. So that's the big game coming out this week. Guys, let's get into the news this week. We got a good handful of stories to talk about in the aftermath of all the Xbox Game Pass drama that happened last week. Again, apologies for being late on last week's show. I hope you all understand it was worth it to me because I got to go to Boston. I got to go to Fenway Park. I got to have a guy bump into me and go, "Hey, I'm walking here," and that, you know, New York, Boston, it's all the same thing. And it was great. It was a great time. So, but now we're back. We're going to talk about the news, starting with an update, a deep dive into a game I haven't thought about it in well over a decade at this point. In over a decade at this point, which is Xbox's canceled Project Ranger. So, Did You Know Gaming, popular YouTube channel. I actually kind of hate that guy who does it because it's that guy that did the whole thing with the Levi guy from the Harry Potter developer. Anyway, we don't have to get into all that. But anyway, Let's just read the VGC write-up. A new video has unearthed alleged details on the canceled Xbox exclusive Project Ranger, an Uncharted-style action-adventure game once planned for Xbox One. Project Ranger is said to be the game famously teased via a 30-second trailer during Xbox's E3 2013 press conference, and never seen again. At the time, the title was attached to Black Tusk Studios, which would later be renamed the Coalition, which we know them as today, the team that makes the current Gears of War games. A new video on YouTube from Did You Know Gaming investigates the fate of the mysterious project, revealing that it was Xbox's answer, or was supposed to be Xbox's answer, to Sony's Uncharted series on the PlayStation. Quote, in short, the idea of this game was Uncharted but with spies, said Liam Robertson, an action-packed third-person shooter where the player controlled secret agents and high-octane espionage missions in various cities around the world. Pre-production on Ranger began in early 2012, it was claimed, with the Mission Impossible movies being cited as a strong influence for the project's direction. The game would feature a single male protagonist who would bond with Bond-style gadgets and he would be able to distract enemies and hack scenery. The game was also planned to include Kinect functionality, with players able to change their primary weapon's firing mode or ask for tips from their handler by speaking to the sensor. In an E3 teaser, which was made using Unreal Engine, it was reportedly based on a Shanghai mission planned for the game in which players would have infiltrated an office building occupied by terrorists. Ultimately, the project development was cut short after the opportunity arose from Microsoft to revive the classic Gears of War series. So in late 2013, Microsoft acquired Gears of War from Epic Games, and Black Tusk felt like a good fit to take over the beloved series, which is when they became the Coalition. In early 2014, that new name stuck, and Project Ranger would be canceled in favor of a new Gears game, which would eventually become Gears of War 4. So that is the long and the short of it. This is a 48-minute video on YouTube that you can go check out if you want all the in-depth information. There's not like really any gameplay reveals or anything. There's lots of tech demo footagey stuff, and then the 30-second trailer from E3 2013 that was passed around back in the day. I remember seeing this trailer once, never thinking about it again, and then like IGN talking about it a few years later, like a what the fuck happened to that game kind of thing. But I have not thought about this ever since then. In fact, like this is all foreign to me. I only ever think of the Coalition's previous history as when they were Black Tusk and worked on Gears Judgment. So this is a really weird one for me to remember. But yeah, I think this game is cool from the fact that it's funny how this thing like kind of cycles back around and around, because you can see that this was an obvious response to Uncharted, but then after this was canceled and everything, Microsoft felt a need to try and go back and do this again, because ostensibly it seems like after the Coalition had their success with Gears of War 4 and 5, that Microsoft still wanted to push for something like this or some revival of this idea, because in a way that's what the formation of the initiative was, and their attempt to bring back the Perfect Dark series, which is in its own sense was also kind of some like spy espionage response to Uncharted in a way, because the way they were trying to reboot Perfect Dark did seem more like an action-adventure story-driven game and less like just a first-person shooter. So in a way, I feel like there's some spirit of this game that lived on in that now canceled Perfect Dark reboot. So it just seems like an idea that Xbox has been possibly pushing for quite a long time in the back end, but has not been able to get out into fruition. So it's really honestly too bad, because I love the idea of a third-person or first-person spy espionage adventure game. And I guess, I don't know, the closest that we have to that is maybe Indiana Jones, but obviously that's not what we're all talking about here. So I don't know, man. It's too bad, but I appreciate when more information is unearthed and brought to the surface like this, so that we can at least have that added context and added information. It's kind of like how we keep seeing Scalebound pop up time and time again, despite the fact that it's never coming back. It's just cool to learn these details and have a little refresher on some Xbox history that's seldom talked about in a world where there are so many, freshly canceled Xbox games to discuss instead. So it's a good little reminder, interesting little unearthing, and some more good work from Did You Know Gaming. So I recommend you check out that video if that's something you're interested in. Otherwise, let's move on over to Game Pass, where we got some new updates. Hey, here's some better updates Actually, before we get to that, let's talk about this. Former chair of the FTC, or Federal Trade Commission, who fought to block the 2023 acquisition of Activision Blizzard, has criticized Microsoft's decision to raise Game Pass prices. Lena Khan, who was the chair of the FTC from 2021 until earlier this year, took to social media after Game Pass News, quoting a post which noted that in March of 2023, Microsoft told the court that Game Pass prices would not increase as a result of its Activision Blizzard acquisitions. Interesting. Quote, Microsoft's acquisition of Activision has been followed by significant price hikes and layoffs, harming both gamers and developers, Lena Khan wrote. As we've seen across sectors, increasing market consolidation and increasing prices often go hand in hand. As dominant firms become too big to care, they can make things worse for the customers without having to worry about the consequences. End quote. Microsoft completed the games industry's biggest ever deal in October of 2023 after the U.S. District Court for the National District of California denied the FTC's motion for a preliminary injunction allowing the acquisition to be completed. The FTC proceeded with the appeal in December of that year, attempting to overturn the court's decision, but earlier this year, the appeal was rejected. The commission officially dropped the case in its entirety. At the time, Microsoft's president Brad Smith called the decision, quote, a victory for players across the country and for common sense in Washington, D.C. Isn't that so great? I love this hindsight, this context in the rear view. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Lena Khan because she's quite literally one of the few people in the U.S. government who's fighting for the people and who's fighting for justice. And she was painted as like a villain during this whole acquisition trial situation where Xbox gamers were online like, Lena Khan, the FTC, they're trying to get in the way. Ooh, I hope the deal goes through. Gamers, blah, blah, blah. Ooh, we want more games in Game Pass. And then she was like, hey, this is fucking bad. Market consolidation's bad. This is not a good move for people with jobs or for people who consume products. This is only a good move for Microsoft. And lo and behold, hey, she was fucking right because monopolistic tendencies tend to be a side effect of all of the biggest names and brands being moved under one umbrella, under one leadership structure. And along with that comes a reduction in jobs due to quote unquote redundancies, an increase in prices due to lack of competition, and just worsening conditions for the consumer overall, which seems like exactly what we have. I mean, we're on like our fourth round of Xbox layoffs, with the fifth one due to come around in the next month or two. Game Pass just went up again in price, a huge hike in price, pissing everyone off. Microsoft just canceled a bunch of games. Call of Duty's still not available on Nintendo consoles, despite the fact that they said it would be. It's just, we're all winning, right? Let's go back to Brad Smith. This is clearly a huge victory for players as we sit here with like 4 Activision games in Game Pass right now. Prices are going up, discounts are being removed. Game Pass is becoming a worse value. Call of Duty is dropping in quality. I feel like this is such a big victory for us. Definitely not for Microsoft. And then, this is common sense for Washington, D.C. to allow Microsoft to drop $69 billion to acquire Activision. I just think that's such a common sense move. Clearly, the American people, they don't need affordable housing or childcare or health care or anything like that. Government regulations on corporations of any kind. What they really need is for Microsoft to own more of the games industry so that we can get more games included in Game Pass and then get priced out of Game Pass. That's really what we need. So I agree with Brad Smith. This was common sense for Washington, D.C., and I stand by that wholeheartedly. So I just wanted to read this. There's really not a whole lot to say about it other than just wow, Lena Khan was right the whole fucking time. The FTC was right the whole fucking time. And hey, by the way, she's Lena Khan is not the head of the FTC anymore, and the new guy, Mr. Carson, is the one who was trying to censor free speech on Jimmy Kimmel the other week. So for what it's fucking worth, this is what happens when the good guys lose and the bad guys win. So I hope we're all fucking happy. All the little stupid fucking politically ignorant Xbots that were on Twitter championing this deal from the sidelines, saying, no, Xbox needs to buy Activision, then they need to buy this, then they need to buy that. This was, the pit in my stomach the whole fucking time that I was talking about how this was a bad idea and I don't support the consolidation of the market. Turns out it was founded. Wow. Who would have guessed? But Hope we're all enjoying our price increases. Now, time for the good news. And this isn't really good news because Microsoft is doing something good. This is good news because a lot of countries in Europe have their shit together a lot more than the US, unfortunately. So let's talk about it. Microsoft introduced huge price increases to Game Pass the other week. Blah, 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 blah. We talked about it. But in the wake of the news, Microsoft is actually delaying the $10 price increase for Game Pass Ultimate in select countries. The firm seems to be hitting the brakes on its updated European countries specifically, and users in the US and UK will be the only ones affected for the time being by this increased price. So notably, this delay appears to be an indefinite delay, though it's been stressed that it only applies to subscribers who were already signed up for Game Pass before the price increases took effect. So if you cancel your subscription at any time, you'll have to pay the newer prices that once you sign back up. So, but if you're currently subscribed, we got some good news. Quote, at this time, these increases will only affect new purchasers and will not affect current subscribers for the market in which you reside. As long as you are on an auto-recurring plan, explained Microsoft in the email, you should choose to cancel your plan and repurchase. If you choose to cancel your plan and repurchase, you'll be charged at the new current rate. This is the email Microsoft sent in countries where they're affected. And we'll get to those countries in a second here. The company went on to promise that users in markets where the increase has been delayed, they will be notified about the end of that holdup or if there are any adjustments to Game Pass's pricing 60 days in advance. This means the current delay will last about 2 months and could likely be considerably longer. So as for why this is being delayed and it's not affecting countries like the US or places like the UK, well, a statement provided to The Verge confirms that it went into effect as a result of local requirements in regions in which it's applicable to. So current subscribers in certain countries will continue to renew their existing price for now in line with local requirements, as Microsoft said, a spokesperson said to The Verge. In other words, it sounds like there are regulations on subscription services, cost adjustments that force the company's hand, and that the delay is not in response to scratching negative feedback or scathing negative feedback, rather. If that's the case, you'd expect to see that come to the US and UK as well, these delays and price increases. So basically what that means, and they were talking about, let me pull it up here because I didn't go through it. I believe the countries were Poland, Germany, Indonesia, Austria, India, and Ireland. So you know what's interesting is it seems like when countries regulate businesses and put rules in place to protect consumers, consumers win, right? So you can't just have your prices jacked up because a company wants more money. There has to be more of an advance notice so that customers can do their research, find an alternative solution if they need to, or cancel their product. So that just seems like such a pro-consumer move. Honestly, it sounds to me like when the government regulates big businesses, the consumer wins, everyone wins, and it just sounds like common sense, or would sound like common sense if DC could abide by such an idea. However, when we live in a world where the government and all decisions are ruled in favor of corporations because we're completely bought and owned by these corporations, it seems like the only people who win are slimeballs like Brad Smith and his ilk. So it just seems a little interesting to me that in these countries where they have more protectionism for consumers and more of a heavy hand guiding what corporations can and can't do to people, they are going to benefit by having the ability to maintain a lower price point for now until a firm amount of time has set for them to react. Whereas in places like the UK and the US, we're just fucked. Game Pass is already up in price, and if you cancel like I did, you're just whatever, So just some good news. Listen, I'm glad it's affecting some of our friends around the world in a positive way. Also, from Microsoft's point of view, I'm sure it's like whatever. The most important markets for them are like US, Canada, UK, and fucking Australia. I wonder if this affects Australia at all. It doesn't mention here, but at the end of the day, the biggest market for Xbox really is the US. That's where the majority of their players are anyway. So I'm sure they're not losing a whole lot of sleep over the 7 subscribers in fucking India and Germany that this benefits. But nonetheless, it is just interesting to see how other countries that know how to hold corporations a little more accountable, are able to protect their consumers, whereas in the free state of the USA, where we have no free speech, the government is taking over random cities because we don't believe in being a police state, right? We're just a nice free country. It's just so cool to see giant corporations like Microsoft owning all the giant corporations. And if it's not Microsoft owning all the corporations, it's weird, unsavory foreign entities like Saudi Arabia buying all the American corporations like EA. So that's just fucking great all around. So, all right, exit Game Pass talk and political talk, and let's get into more games. So let's move over to Assassin's Creed. Again, unfortunately, remember, I do not make the news. This is just the news, so it is a little bit of a disappointing news story coming up, but it just is what's happening. I promise when we get to what I've been playing, I'm super positive. Let's talk about Black Ops 7. I'm having a good time there. But anyway, so Ubisoft reportedly canceled an in-development Assassin's Creed game last summer, partially due to concerns over the political climate in the U.S. According to the current and former employees, speaking anonymously to Game Files, the canceled game was planned to take place during the Reconstruction period that followed the American Civil War in the 1860s and 1870s. It's claimed that Assassin's Creed, this game would have followed a black man who had been formerly enslaved in the South and moved west to start a new life. Quote, recruited by a series assassin, he would return to the South to fight for justice in a conflict that would, among other things, see him confronted by the emergence of the Ku Klux Klan, according to interviewers with the 5 current and former Ubisoft employees. 3 of the employees told Game Files that the game was canceled last summer by Ubisoft management in Paris for 2 reasons. One, online backlash around the reveal of Yasuke, a historically inspired black samurai in Assassin's Creed Shadows, and concerns around the political climate in the United States. Quote, I was so terribly disappointed, but not surprised by leadership, one source told GameFile. They are making more and more decisions to maintain the political status quo and to take no stand, no risk, no creativity. So, unfortunately, I say this, let me preface. I say this as someone who never plays Assassin's Creed, doesn't give a shit about Assassin's Creed, but I often mention how, even though I don't care about Assassin's Creed 3, the one that takes place during the American Revolution, is the one Assassin's Creed game that almost got me, because I think that game sounds awesome in theory, and it looks awesome, but I think the thing that made me never want to pull the trigger on it is that it seems to be the one Assassin's Creed game from that era that everyone's kind of like, whatever. So I was like, okay, well, if it's not even that good of an Assassin's Creed game, I guess I just shouldn't play it. But this sounds like the next Assassin's Creed game after all those years, where I would have been like, fuck, that sounds cool. Because I love this synopsis. This setting, this idea is actually so fucking cool. This fucking Django Unchained Assassin's Creed game where you just go around as like a black dude going back to the South after years and years of being liberated in the Western frontier, and you're just like a fucking gunslinger, like murdering the Ku Klux Klan around the American South. That sounds, this is me kind of assuming some of the details of what this game might be, but like, that sounds fucking badass. That sounds like a really cool game. And you know what? I actually almost don't even blame Ubisoft for canceling this game for the exact reasons they canceled it. Because you could fucking see it. Because in 2012, when a movie like Django Unchained came out, everyone's like, yo, that movie's fucking badass. But if a movie like Django Unchained came out today, people would be like, it's so woke. I'm not racist or anything, but the idea of a black man being liberated is just, it's so Hollywood. It's so woke. It's so woke. So I could imagine, this game, while awesome, like objectively fucking awesome in premise, you can just already imagine what like the fucking Terminally Online, just this eldritch fucking YouTube comments would be, Reddit comments around this game would be like, it's just like, oh, of course the character's black, of the American South, of course the one character they had to pick was black, oh, of course he fights the Ku Klux Klan, they think that Trump is a fucking racist, they think that, the Democrats, Biden, like, it's just, I don't even want to fucking deal with the kind of online discourse that would have like spawned as a result of this game's existence. But it's too bad for 2 reasons. One, and I'll talk about it from the perspective of the consumers, it's too bad that the collective IQ of everyday gamers and consumers has dropped so significantly that we can't have shit like this anymore. And I maybe should clarify, it's not really gamers. That's not fair. It's the people who feel like their voice is important enough to leave comments on the internet, that they would bitch and moan about this inevitably. But it's also part 2, just disappointing that corporations are so fucking afraid of having any creative output or any opinion or anything to say or anything worth a damn that we have to get this absolute milquetoast, just uninteresting artistic output that's all about this vague entertainment without any kind of statement behind it, which is just so fucking stupid. I'm not saying that you should make games or make entertainment with the intention of sending a political message, but everything we do in this world, every belief we have, every idea we have, everything we create is inherently to some extent political, because the things we think and feel and want to say and want to express are a result of our feelings and our opinions and our perspectives and our views, and that's all shaped and helps shape our political and moralistic and social perspective on this world. So it's just so disappointing and like full of self-censorship, and it's kind of like weird alternative, just like dystopian future when you have companies that are supposed to be responsible for creative output trying to preemptively self-censor themselves because they're afraid of potential backlash they could face if they allow their creatives to have an idea that's worth a damn. And it's just like, come on, man, that's so fucking lame, dude. Just let them make the badass Assassin's Creed game where you play as the, former slave turned gunslinger in the American South. That sounds badass. Who wouldn't want that fucking game? And I think I'm not saying games need to be like Dragon Age where you just like try to shove 2020's Twitter lexicon into a medieval fantasy dungeon role-playing game like BioWare poorly did with that new Dragon Age game. I'm not saying that should happen, but if we make authentic experiences that are just a representation of the creative aspirations of the people behind some piece of entertainment or some video game, then and their game just so happens to rub some people the wrong way because they misinterpret or they don't respect the vision that the creatives had for that game, then so fucking be it. It doesn't fucking matter, because I'm sure Assassin's Creed Shadows sold just fine despite all the internet unrest over the idea that they had a black samurai in Japan. I'm sure the game still sold great. I'm sure the game is just as good or bad as any other Assassin's Creed game. To me, that game looks so fucking painfully boring. I would never play it, but it has nothing to do with one of the characters being a woman and one of the characters being black. It just has to do with the fact that I don't want to play Assassin's Creed. But it's just, man, like, I don't know. I know it sounds idealistic, and at the end of the day, it's like, listen, Ubisoft is a company that has to protect itself. They're here to make money, and they have to do the thing that they think is going to be the most financially viable and secure. So I get it. It's not necessarily that they're doing it because they're afraid of stoking a flame or something. It has more to do with they just want to make the safe decision that's going to allow them to continue to operate in the black and make money. But if you are a corporation that is responsible for creative and artistic output, and then you're trying to get in front of yourself to self-censor and prevent your creatives from expressing themselves and making statements and putting things out there that could be interpreted in one way or another, then it's just like, you're in the wrong fucking business. Like, just go hang it up and make shoes or something, at that point. It's like there's no point in being in a creative entertainment field anymore if you don't even have the balls to let your creatives make a game with, honestly, a setting and synopsis that is as inoffensive as this. I mean, like, a black gunslinger fighting the KKK in the antebellum South is no more offensive in my opinion, than like, the British and American forces fighting Nazi Germany in a World War II first-person shooter. It's like an objectively oppressed set of people against an objective oppressor and evil force. It's like, what is controversial about that, And so I mean, it just kind of tells you everything you need to know about just the absolute degradation and breakdown of discourse, of public opinion, of the collective internet IQ, and it just disappoints me that a game like this can't exist. So now what are we going to get? We're going to get the next fucking stupid ass Assassin's Creed where it's like, it takes place in mythical Greece and you have to fucking fly ferries around and there's griffins and unicorns and shit. And then you can buy fucking DLC battle passes so you can look like Yankee Daddy or whatever. What's his name? Daddy Yankee? What's his fucking name? I don't know, but whatever they fucking do in Ubisoft land now, and that's what we're gonna get instead. Because God forbid we have a creative, unique idea and try to utilize any artistic expression. But you go ahead, Ubisoft, continue to get in bed with Tencent and just continue to suck total and complete ass. How the fuck did X Define work out for you, assholes? Anyway, let's move on, guys. I think it gets better from here. I think from here it's kind of all uphill. And then when we get to what I've been playing, I got positive things to say, I promise you. All right. I thought this one was just interesting. So let's talk about some data from Circana that Matt Piscatella, who works over there, released this week, which is that the majority of video game players in the US only buy 1 or 2 games a year, according to survey data. So Matt Piscatella and the Circana data research organization, research company rather, shared Q3 2025 data that said that showed the future of video game surveys, which specifically is data that they use. Data on purchasing frequency among players in the U.S. My bad. According to the data, 18% of players in the U.S. buy a new video game about once every 6 months, while 12% buy about once every year. The survey also found that about 33% of players buy a new game less often than once per year, meaning that a combined 63% of players buy 2 games or less each and every year. So think about all the people you know that have a PlayStation 5, because that's most likely the console they have, or PS4. Yeah, about more than half of them, about 63% of them, buy 0 to 2 games in a year. On the other hand of the scale, 22% of players buy a new game around once every 3 months, with 10% saying that they buy one roughly every month. Just 4% say that they buy more than one game a month. So commenting on the findings, Piscatella suggests that those 14% of players, the 10 plus the 4, who buy one game or more per month are mainly responsible for the continued trajectory of full price games. Quote, hyper enthusiastic price insensitive players are really keeping things going, especially in the non-free-to-play gaming space, he noted. So that is a really interesting data point, because basically what that says is myself, all you listening, all of us who are hardcore gamers who take the time to listen to stupid fucking Xbox podcasts and things like that are part of this 14%, more or less, that are willing to purchase games on a regular basis and play games on a regular basis, whereas the overwhelming majority of people are either barely buying games at all, or when they engage with their consoles, they're using it to play Fortnite, more or less, Fortnite and Minecraft. So they're saying, why are games $60, $70, $80? Why are games continuing to be made in a capacity where we get full $60, $70 game releases? Why are we getting, collector's editions and scuffed controllers and Xbox Design Lab controllers and shit? Because this small 14% margin of players are buying games by the millions. They're buying the Ghost of Yotes and the fucking Outer Worlds 2 and all these games that we consider to be like the hot games of the year, the games that we spend all year looking forward to and talking about and speculating about what's going to make or break the future of Xbox and PlayStation, whereas the overwhelming majority of people who engage with video game consoles or video game hardware are just playing fucking Minecraft and Fortnite and Warzone and watching a goddamn DVD or watching Love is Blind on Netflix via their Xbox, and everyone else, just us, our small percentage of the industry or of the market, we're the fucking freaks and geeks online yelling all day about whether or not fucking Ninja Gaiden 4 counts as a first party or second party game based on the development and publishing nature of it all. So it's just super interesting to get that perspective, because obviously we live in a bubble, being hardcore, more invested gamers, whereas in the reality, this is very, we make up a very small percentage of the people who interact with games, and it makes so much sense. I mean, just think about it anecdotally. Like I go to work, and God, if I talk to my coworkers either don't play games, or they're like, oh yeah, I play Fortnite. It's always that, or it's like, oh yeah, I buy Madden. So a large percentage, they're either playing free to play shit, or they buy Madden and Call of Duty every year, and that's about it. Just really interesting perspective. And then let's wrap up with two more. So we got this really cool new controller option. So Outer Worlds 2 has a new controller design in the Xbox Design Labs. So starting now, players can go to the Xbox Design Labs and get either a $95 Xbox wireless controller or $185 Elite wireless controller Series 2 with the Outer Worlds 2 design. I think this controller looks awesome. Not so much because the print or whatever, the artwork on it, but more so the color scheme is so nice, especially the standard controller. It's just a white controller, but it has like touches and hues of like light blue and purple on it. And then the D-pad is all white and the analog sticks are yellow. And I should say the controller is not necessarily white. It's more like a cream color. And that contrast of like the yellow and the cream with the touches of blue and purple actually looks like really fucking nice. I think it's a really good looking controller. But I mean, I'm sure as hell not going to get a $100 Outer Worlds 2 controller, but I do admire the look of it. And if you're a big fan of Outer Worlds or you're really looking forward to the sequel and you're in the market for a controller, this might be the one for you. I can't imagine there's a decent number of people who are in the market for an Xbox Elite Series 2 controller and want that controller to sport the Outer Worlds on it, but good for Xbox for thinking that that's a thing that they should invest money in while canceling Perfect Dark. So anyway, costs them barely nothing to do it, I'm sure. So there's that, but the controller looks fucking cool in my opinion, and it's available now, so go take a look at that if you're interested. And then let's wrap up with some Game Pass news for October. So yeah, new month, new Game Pass games. So available now, Supermarket Simulator and Baldur's Gate 2 Enhanced Editions are available on Game Pass. But coming soon, we got some more games coming to the service, of course. The Casting of Frank Stone, Ball X Pit, The Grinch Christmas Adventure, Eternal Strands, He Is Coming, which is a game preview title, and Ninja Gaiden 2 Black all come to Game Pass. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is, of course, and He Is Coming and Eternal Strands are already in Game Pass, but they are now going to Premium. Also, PAX Die, which is coming to PC, is now in Game Pass on October 16th this month. And then Evil West comes back to Game Pass on October 21st. The last two games I'm going to mention here are the most important games, or the biggest games coming to Game Pass this month. The first one being Keeper, which is a day one Game Pass game that comes out on October 17th. This is, of course, the new indie-style game by Double Fine, of course, the Psychonauts developers, the Tim Schafer guys, that was revealed at the Xbox Summer Showcase, where you play as an anthropomorphic lighthouse with like a dodo bird or whatever it is. So there's that game, which looks really cool. It's this action-adventure 2D game from Double Fine that we know very little about, but that looks really interesting. So I really want to play this game, although it doesn't look like it's allowing you to pre-purchase it unless you have Game Pass. So I want to figure out what's going on there. That makes no sense that you have to have Game Pass in order to play it. I doubt that's true. But anyway, so that's coming out on the 17th. And then just a few days later, on the 21st, on the 21st, Ninja Gaiden 4, of course, day one on Game Pass, comes out for Ultimate subscribers. So yeah, of course, that game looks awesome. We've been waiting for it. This is one of the most anticipated Xbox games of the year. I'm really excited for this game, but there's no way I'm playing it on October 21st because that is smack dab in between Battlefield 6 and Black Ops 7. So I'm going to be balls deep in my military first-person online shooters, but this game does look awesome, and I will get to it eventually. So Keeper and Ninja Gaiden 4, two very notable Keeper being a first-party game and Ninja Gaiden 4 being a second-party game, but some decent Xbox content this year as we start to reach the latter months of this very busy year for Xbox. After this, I think we're really just down to Call of Duty and Outer Worlds 2. So yeah, really exciting stuff there. And then, of course, you always lose a couple games. So at the end of, actually not even at the end, on October 15th, in the middle of the month, Cocoon, Core Keeper, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutants Unleashed will all leave Game Pass, so give them a try now if you want to try them at all, or forever hold your peace. Guys, it's going to do it for all of our news this week, and with that said, we can now move on to some of the better segments of the podcast where we get to be a little more optimistic because we don't have to talk about the news, and since I don't make the news, I gotta just respond to all the negativity out there. But since I do get to tell you about what I've been playing and what I've been eating, we can talk about some positivity. So let's get into what I've been playing, because Black Ops 7, I've spent quite a bit of time with it. But before I can tell you about that, before I can tell you about what I've been eating, playing, I gotta tell you about what I've been eating. Fuck it, I ruined it this week. God damn it. Let's talk about what I've been eating. So I don't know if we talked about this one yet, If we did, it would have been earlier this year, but we're going to do it again because I'm thinking about it. I was like, what am I going to talk about? What am I eating? The past few days kind of been eating boring. I had chicken and rice tonight. I had salad yesterday, kind of just boring, post-vacation healthy food. But when we got back from Massachusetts on Friday, Saturday, whatever it was, we stopped on Cimarron Boulevard, just down the road from the Orlando airport, which is an area where there's a lot of hotels and restaurants for tourists. That's right by the airport. And last time we flew home from a trip when we went to Missouri to visit my father, we stopped by Sonny's Barbecue on the way home because there's just something about the idea of Sonny's Barbecue that just kind of sounded fast, easy, and hit the spot. And it was really good. So this time we decided, fuck it, let's do it again. So same thing. It worked exactly the same. We stopped by Sonny's Barbecue after we got off the plane and got out of the airport on our way home. And dude, that shit hit the spot. I don't know what it is about Sonny's Barbecue, because the thing about Sonny's Barbecue is it is a chain barbecue restaurant. I assume they have these all over the country. I don't know if they do. Maybe they don't have them in other parts of the country. But Sonny's Barbecue, it's kind of like Dickey's Barbecue. But it is a fast, casual, sit-down, family chain American barbecue restaurant. And every time we go there, it seems like this is kind of a new tradition. It's always once we get back from a trip. And the game plan is to get those smoked barbecue wings because they're really good. And then you get the platter where you get a little bit of ribs, a little bit of pulled pork, a little bit of coleslaw, a little bit of mac and cheese, some Texas toast. Dude, that with an iced tea, that shit hits so, like, after you spend a whole day traveling from the hotel to the airport, waiting in the airport, going through security, getting on the plane, flying home, getting your baggage, getting out of the airport, all that shit. Like, after a long day of that, there's nothing like some comforting, very middle of the road barbecue that just really hits the spot. And the thing about Sonny's is it's by no, like, fucking, if we got listeners here from Texas or Carolinas or whatever the fuck, or Alabama, they might be like, oh, that ain't real barbecue down here in the South. We put vinegar and mustard and all sauce. Shut up, dude. Sonny's is not premier barbecue by any stretch of the imagination, but here's my take on Sonny's. Sonny's has no goddamn right being as incredibly delicious as it is for chain, mass-produced, corporate-run, affordable American barbecue. It has no right being as good as it is, considering all those things. And, Sonny's, it's always friendly service, but kind of like, it's like everyone's always like nice there, but stretched too thin. There's like 20 tables and 2 servers running the whole goddamn place. I don't even know how it operates. Every time you go there, it's kind of the same thing. The place is always a little dirty and a little sticky. But dude, you bite into those smoked barbecue wings, get some of that mac and cheese and coleslaw. Dude, you're on cloud nine. That shit's so good. So I just want to give a special shout out to Sonny's Barbecue, a place I didn't discover. Actually, I don't think I even knew what Sonny's Barbecue was until like late high school. But anyway, ever since I've had it, I just feel like it's kind of that perfect restaurant for a road trip, a long day of travel, something like that. It's kind of like a Cracker Barrel where it's usually located in very like heavy areas, like when you make it into a town or out of an airport or passing through like a truck stop town or something like that. Usually that's where you find a Sonny's Barbecue. So it kind of goes hand in hand with like travel, but man, it's some good travel food. So shout out to Sonny's Barbecue. If you have one in your area, try it out. If you don't, oh well, too bad. So sad. But that's it for what I've been eating, you guys. And now I guess we'll get into what I've been playing. So yeah, the Black Ops 7 beta has, I think today's the last day of it, or tomorrow morning is the last day of it. Unfortunately, I will not get to play tonight because I'm doing the podcast, but I played this beta a little bit last Thursday when it started, and then a lot on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and a little bit on Monday. So I played over 3 days of the Black Ops 7 beta. If I had to guess, I'd say I put about, 10 hours or so into it. And I got some great news. Black Ops 7 is surprisingly really good. Now, is this the best Call of Duty of all time? No. And is it the game that's going to bring Call of Duty back to its former glory? I don't think so. But if the final product is anything like the beta, I would say that in a world where Call of Duty made a major change and turned into a new type of game, or really, made its evolution for better or for worse in 2019, beginning with the reboot of Modern Warfare. I would say that this is probably the second or third best Call of Duty they've done since that change has been made. I really loved 2022's Modern Warfare 2, and I really loved 2020's Black Ops Cold War. But Modern Warfare 2019, the campaign was great, but Modern Warfare 3 in 2023, that game is hot garbage. Vanguard in 2021, that game is hot garbage. And Black Ops 6 from last year, that game is on paper great, but in execution, there's something about that game. It's missing the Black Ops feel. Throughout the year, they've ruined it with all these fucking Fortnite skins, and the game just feels like it's almost the game you want it to be, but not quite. But thankfully, I'm happy to say that Black Ops 7 really addresses most, if not all, of the major issues I have with Black Ops 6, which is great because this game is indeed everything I said it was, which is that in making two Call of Duties at the same time with Black Ops 6 and 7, Treyarch really did make, it seems like, at least so far from what we've experienced and played, that Black Ops 7 was the main course, with Black Ops 6 being more of like the appetizer game that they kind of had to cut a couple corners on in order to, get two games out in a back-to-back fashion. And so I'm really happy to report that Black Ops 7... So let me back up. Black Ops 6 is trying to be this Cold War, Black Ops 1, spiritual successor. It kind of is like a harken back to old school Black Ops in a way, but it doesn't feel like it. The game is set in the 1990s. You would think it was set in modern era. It basically just looks and feels like a Modern Warfare game, and everything's all deserty and gray and boring. And there's nothing about the game that suggests it's the 90s. There's nothing about the multiplayer maps that suggest it's the 90s. In fact, Black Ops 6 has some of the worst maps in Call of Duty history. They're just so small, so simple, so boring, and they all kind of look and feel the exact same. And that's the thing about it. It's like the gunplay is great. The Omni movement's a cool feature. The zombies play great. The campaign's pretty decent, but not perfect by any means. And it just doesn't feel like a Black Ops game. But Black Ops 7 is quite the opposite, where Black Ops 7 is clearly this spiritual successor to Black Ops 2. It feels more like a game that takes place very firmly in between Black Ops 2 and 3, which it is, so that makes sense. But it definitely leans more Black Ops 2 than 3 for sure, which I think is a great thing. But the thing that's so great about Black Ops 7 is it actually feels like Black Ops. Like the HUD, the map design, the backgrounds, the character models, the weapons, the gears, the gadgets, the menus, everything about this game looks and feels like a Black Ops game. And for that alone, it gets me hyped, because when I'm playing this game, it feels like, what if modern Call of Duty made a game like Black Ops 2? And I'm like, that's fucking sick. Whereas Black Ops 6 was like, what if modern Call of Duty made a game like Black Ops 1? It's like, that sounds great. Just kidding, here's Modern Warfare again. So I really am loving Black Ops 6 purely just from an aesthetic and fine touch kind of point of view, where they really made the game look and feel like an authentic Black Ops game. Now, in terms of how the moment-to-moment gameplay feels, the gunplay and all that, it feels very much like Black Ops 6, which is a great thing in my opinion, because I think Black Ops 6 felt great to play. But of course, this time you got a bunch of futuristic weapons and gadgets, which I fucking love. Like the other day, there was this multiplayer challenge where you had to, you can replace your impact grenades or frag grenades with these little drones, and they're just these little drones where, like, you press the grenade button and your character pulls out a mini drone, and it just goes straight. It just flies straight, and whatever it hits into, it instantly explodes. So if it's a person, you kill them in one hit. If it's a wall, it just explodes and no one does any damage. It's just a little drone. You press it in the direction you're facing, and it just flies straight and then blows up once it makes impact with whatever it touches. And there was this daily challenge where it was like, get 5 kills with this drone grenade thing. And so I was like, okay, let me pair that with this other ability, this what do they call it? The special abilities where you press the left and right bumper together, and then you have a special ability for a little minute or whatever. There's this other ability where it's an active camouflage where you turn completely invisible for like 15 seconds, and the only way the invisibility turns off is if the timer runs out, you shoot your gun, or you get shot at. But otherwise, as long as you don't fire your weapon, you're completely invisible. So I was running around the map, activating my camo, looking for a bad guy, walking straight up to them, completely invisible, and then just throwing my little drone directly in their line of their path of travel, and just blowing people the fuck up. And I was like, This is awesome. Using like these stupid, dumb spy gadgets to do ridiculous stuff and have fun in Call of Duty like this. I love that shit. It's such a nice, fresh change of, just frag grenades and guns and stuff like that. So like having a lot of fun. There's this new like laser rocket launcher type weapon that's amazing, where it has a really fast rate of fire. It can fire 3 individual rounds and then it has to reload, but it has a really fast rate of fire, but requires pretty good accuracy, but it has a little bit of like a blast radius effect, and it's such a fun secondary weapon to use. So instead of like running a submachine gun with a shotgun or an assault rifle with a pistol, you can run like your main gun with this laser rifle thing. And it's so much fun to use because like, oh man, because I generally love to run SMGs. And so like I was on this one map called Impact, where it's a snowy map. It's kind of mid-size and there's a lot of range. And then like I'm like shooting guys from kind of across the map, but my gun is too mid to close range to really do any serious damage. So I quickly switch to my little laser impact thing and I blast the wall behind this guy, and it has enough of a blast impact that it kind of deals the last bit of damage and he fucking dies. I'm like, that's fucking sick. And it's just so fun because like usually these kinds of weapons require just like absolute nerdy precision, like a sniper rifle, but it's loose enough that's kind of like a DMR, but specific enough that it's kind of like a rifle, but it's kind of like a grenade launcher, but it's kind of like a laser rifle. It's just all these different things moved into one. It's a fun weapon to play with anyway. The other cool thing is, of course, the changes to Omni movement. So this game still has the Black Ops 6 Omni movement, where you can run in different directions and dive and shit, but now you can do the bouncing off walls. Well, a lot of people were bitching and moaning about how, oh no, it's just going to make it like Black Ops 3. It's going to be like jetpacks all over again. Not at all. This is a very subtle movement that they've introduced, and it's a lot of fun. Like, it's really cool to be like, okay, that guy's sniping me from up there, so I'm going to run up to this thing. I'm going to double jump off this wall and grab onto the ledge and pull myself up and just pop him with my pistol, then pull over the ledge and be up there where I was getting shot at from in a matter of 3 seconds. So it's a really fun, like, maneuverability thing, but it doesn't feel like you can cheese it. It's not like jetpacks where you feel like you're just flying around the map. It's a short, small jump, and if you try to jump from one wall to another, the second jump is incredibly weak. It's almost impossible to chain jumps, but I guess technically they say you could chain technically 2 or 3 jumps, but I'm not even able to do it because it's kind of hard, honestly. So it feels like a very minimal, like little added maneuverability bump, but it's by no means like the reintroduction of jetpacks. It's just a way to make the game feel a little more fluid and stuff. It's not perfect. Like sometimes you jump up to ledges where clearly the map design is not intended to allow you to go. So then you kind of run into like a vertical invisible wall, and it's just like, okay, that feels kind of cheap and budgety. So it's not perfect by any means. And the game by no means is perfect. It is, at the end of the day, it's just another Call of Duty. And so if you don't like Call of Duty or you have COD fatigue, then, this game isn't really going to move mountains for you. But I just think it feels a lot more inspired and fun and fresh, and also like classic Call of Duty in a way that a lot of the modern games don't feel. And then to top it off, the cherry on top of the pie really is that they brought back this skill-based matchmaking thing where, people have been bitching and moaning about skill-based matchmaking in Call of Duty for years and years now. So they have this new open playlist where it's like play Call of Duty without skill-based matchmaking, essentially. And it's really fucking awesome because I've never been one to bitch and moan about skill-based matchmaking because I understand I'm one of the people that gets protected by it because I'm not very good at games. So I realize when I play skill-based matchmaking, it helps me to compete. But I was like, you know what? I want to see what no skill-based matchmaking is like to see how bad I really am at COD. And it was so weird because after like 2 matches, I was like, I didn't realize how much skill-based matchmaking really changes the feeling of Call of Duty, because I was having some matches where I'd get my fucking ass kicked, and then I was having some matches where I cleaned up, and it was like some give and some take. And I didn't realize, I'm like, for some reason, having that lack of skill-based matchmaking in place, the game kind of felt like what I remembered it being like, playing like old school Black Ops 1 and 2 on the Xbox 360 back in the day. And I didn't even realize that so much of the way Call of Duty feels to me now isn't even just because they overhauled the look and feel of the game with Modern Warfare 2019. It's also because how heavy the skill-based matchmaking is and how it makes, playing with other people feel. And so I just thought that was really cool. And I can't articulate too much more beyond that. But it is just to say that this game, just like with that paired with the deeper inspiration and influence of Black Ops 2 and whatnot, this game really does feel like, kind of a return to form for Call of Duty. And then they had like a little zombies tiny map to just give you a taste of it. And same thing, it's like all the problems people have complained about with zombies for the past few games, where it just kind of looks and feels like Warzone zombies. They kind of started to address that. This game really looks and feels like old school zombies with the HUD and the items you pick up and the animations and the color palette and the level design. It just looks and feels like Call of Duty Zombies. It's really cool. So I just really want to give this game a shout out, because I know everyone's like, oh, Battlefield versus Call of Duty, you got to pick one. Fuck Black Ops. We love Battlefield 6. As someone who's very, very excited for Battlefield 6, I think Call of Duty Black Ops 7 rocks, and I cannot wait to purchase it for $70 and play it on November 14th. Because that game is totally up my alley, and it's definitely something I'm looking forward to, in addition to Battlefield, because they can both be awesome games. Now, if I'm being honest, yes, Battlefield 6, in my opinion, is better based on these two betas, and I'm more looking forward to Battlefield than Call of Duty this year for sure, but I'm looking forward to both of these games, and if anything, I think Call of Duty has a better chance of being a better campaign, because Battlefield campaigns are historically pretty weak, but not always. Bad Company and Battlefield 1 do exist, after all. But anyway, that's it for what I've been playing. Lots of Black Ops 7. Really enjoying it. Still dabbling with Donkey Kong Bonanza Boy. And so that's it for that, you guys. So let's take a quick water break, come back, and wrap up the show with some listener comments. All right, guys, let's get into the comments. Just as a reminder, you know how it works. YouTube.com/XboxOnPodcast. It's at XboxOnPodcast, YouTube.com. Click on the latest episode and drop a comment, whatever you feel like you guys say. Get it off your chest and say it to me. I love to hear from you guys, so always welcome your feedback. Now, also, I should mention, because I do a poor job of reminding you all of this, which is that if you listen on podcast services, please consider giving the show a nice review. It definitely would help us get seen more, or so I'm told, that it would help your podcast grow by being, showing up more in the algorithm, whatever the fuck. So, this show has a pretty stagnant, flat audience, if I'm being completely honest. So it would be nice to get the show into the eyes and hands of and ears of more people. So I would just appreciate your help with that if it's something you feel like you can do. Otherwise, let's hop into it. So in no particular order, because I just copied and pasted a bunch of shit, but we got one. Wait, we're missing a comment. What the fuck? Where's the... Dude, this is what I hate about YouTube. I'll get it, just so you guys know, a little inside baseball. Sometimes I'll, the way it works, and if you ever commented, you might notice that I pretty much just like every comment that I get. YouTube will notify me every time someone comments on the video version of the podcast, on the YouTube version, and then I'll like it, and I'll go in and I'll read it, and then I'll screenshot and save it. But then sometimes sometimes I forget to screenshot, and then these comments just disappear. Like, I know Sam Frito had a really goddamn good write-in. He had a really long write-in this week, and I can't find it. What the fuck, man? Like, what? Dude, this is so goddamn annoying. Like, why? Why do you notify me of these comments and then take them away? So let's see if I can find it, because that was a really good comment. Oh, he left it on last week's podcast. Sam Frito, you know better. You know better, baby. All right, we're going to round out the podcast with your comments, because it's a very long one. But, all right, I'm glad we found that before I forgot about it. All right, save, and make sure we didn't forget anyone else. All right, we are good. So, yeah, let's get into the comments, guys. Starting with Jay Sevier, who writes in and says, another great podcast, Jesse. Your balanced perspective... Oh, wait, where was the podcast at the top? We had a comment at the top. Oh, yeah, Happy Mario said, hey, not listened yet, but hello, Jesse. And I said, hi, Happy Mario. All right, let's get back to it. So Jay writes in and says, another great podcast, Jesse. Your balanced perspective on Game Pass was spot on and refreshing in a sea of nothing but vitriol from most other people across the internet. From the 28:58 mark to the 35:20 mark of the podcast, you summed up perfectly how I feel and why I am more than happy to choose the Essential plan for Game Pass. As you said, being on Essential is a tremendous weight off my shoulders, enabling me to game stress-free. Side note, in Australia, Essential is only $12.95, which is way less than the $35.95, used to be $23.95, that they were charging for Ultimate. Man, it drives me absolutely fucking nuts that in Australia they have their pricing structure like that it's like $12.95. The one that drives me nuts is your old price you had for Ultimate, $23.95. Is that an American thing where you got to advertise clean, sexy numbers, because I can't think of a less sexy number to advertise than $23.95. It just seems like like the bill you got at McDonald's, after you ordered 20 chicken nuggets, 2 Big Macs, a large Coke, and a fry for yourself and no one else. Like, that doesn't sound like the monthly price of Game Pass. Like, isn't it supposed to be like Game Pass only $20 a month? But like, what do your ads in Australia say? Game Pass only $23.95 a month, eh? That's a British Canadian right there. Also, this is Australian dollars. I understand that exchange rates are different, but like, goddamn, that's not a clean and sexy number. So I'm getting hung up on that. But I appreciate the write-in, man. I think I need to do more time prepping for the show sometimes, so I can flesh out my thoughts better and have more unique things to say instead of just kind of just being like, hey, here's the news. That's dumb. Anyway, moving on. But I do appreciate your feedback and your appreciation for the show. It means a lot to me. These are the kinds of comments that remind me sometimes that what I'm doing is something I enjoy doing, and that there are other people on the other end enjoying the show as well. So thank you very much, Jay. Compassionate Choice writes in and says, at this point, Microsoft wants Xbox hardware to die. They just want Game Pass, cloud gaming, and publishing. Is it even worth spending money on the next gen hardware, or should we just put those funds towards a PC? Yeah, man, here's the thing is I still feel, and this is arbitrary, there's nothing backing up that this will be indeed the case, but I feel very confident that when or if Microsoft kind of bows out of a traditional setup, it's when, that they're really going to hook people up, because they've been good about this before, like when Groove Music ended and stuff like that, or when they shut down Mixer and stuff. They do a good job of being like, hey, we're ending this thing you love, but let's offload you to this platform. I have a feeling Microsoft is going to have some plan in place where it's like, yeah, we're not making Xbox hardware anymore, but you can sign in with your Xbox account, and all the games in your backlog that are on PC will then be unlocked on the Xbox for PC app or something, so that you'll be able to probably transfer your console library, for the most part, with a lot of exceptions, but for the most part, over to PC if that's where you end up migrating from. I just have a very firm suspicion that that's probably something that's going to happen in the inevitable midterm when Xbox hardware does die for good. So I don't feel terribly bad about investing money in the Xbox ecosystem as far as games are concerned, because I still feel like my accessories and my games will be playable on my PC no matter what happens to Xbox hardware. Now, again, that is an assumption and a hunch and not a fact or a known thing by any means. So take that with a grain of salt, but that's just something that I feel pretty confident Microsoft's going to do when they inevitably pull the plug on Xbox hardware. But, I think a serious thing people need to ask themselves is, should I continue to invest in the Xbox ecosystem, or should I just jump ship to PS5? Because I think a lot of people, when Xbox pulls out of hardware, a lot of people aren't going to want to move to PC. They're going to want to move to PlayStation, which is the closest alternative to a PC or to an Xbox. So I think that is something worth considering, is maybe it's time to cut your losses, buy a PlayStation, and start building your library over there. Because maybe you want to stop supporting Xbox financially, knowing that they're not long for this world. But that's kind of my 2 cents on the matter. Compassionate Choice. At the end of the day, none of us really have the answer, so we just kind of got to make the decision we think is going to be the best for ourselves in the long run. What is this? Deus Acosta? Am I saying that right? Thank you for Ian, I believe first time commenter. You said at the 324 mark, you made me a first time listener. You're funny, man, Xbox guy, subscribed. I think that was last week when I said, if you haven't been listening, the show's been going on for 6 years, fuck you where you been, or something like that. But I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I appreciate you checking out the podcast. I don't know if I would click on a podcast I've never heard of that only has like 45 views or listens or clicks. So the fact that people like you exist, I'm eternally grateful, because people like you are the reason why I'm able to build any amount of an audience, and otherwise I'd have nothing. So I appreciate you. Hope you're having an excellent week, and thank you so much for checking out Xbox On. Cronky writes in and says, if/when the plug gets pulled on Xbox, My God, can you imagine the wealth of video essays we'll see? YouTube will be unbearable. I will have to mute the word Xbox on YouTube for quite a while after that happens. But yes, Cronky, you are quite right, and I am quite dreading that moment. All right, our penultimate comment here. Actually, no, we got another quick one. FM Radio says, so far from what I've heard, the best value for both hardware and subscription so far would be the Xbox ROG Ally, which is $600, and Game Pass Premium or PC Game Pass compared to everything else that's out there. Based on what, though, FM Radio? The best value for both hardware and subscription. Wouldn't the best value be at Xbox Series S for less than $600 and then Game Pass Ultimate? I mean, it just depends what you think. I don't know, man. There's still some value in the Xbox ecosystem. I still think Game Pass is a value, but you just got to engage with it a lot to get that value. And then I still think the Xbox Series S is a value considering the price of the Xbox Series X. The problem with the Series S now is just that compared to a PS5, there's not a whole lot of savings, and that's a huge issue for them. But I don't see the ROG Ally as great value at all because it's not dockable, it's not playable on your TV. I mean, at the end of the day, people want to play their consoles more than they want to play their handhelds. So I just think the ROG Ally is a little too niche to appeal to enough people for it to be the best value, the most recommended choice. Although maybe I'm conflating, the most recommended option with the best value. But nonetheless, if in your opinion that's what works for you, makes no sense. I respect it, FM Radio, and I appreciate you for writing in. Hope you have a great week. All right, our penultimate comment comes from Mr. Cargo Runner UK, who says, I think you're right about Game Pass Ultimate, and it did not get enough subscribers to pay for day one games. So now Microsoft want to copy Sony and don't want to offer day one games anymore. They agree with Sony that there's more profit on new game sales, but Microsoft can't just stop offering day one games. So instead, they've increased the price by 50%. Bingo. They originally used PC and streaming to try and make people buy into their Ultimate tier. It made the Ultimate tier the best value in every way. Now they don't want people on the Ultimate tier, so they have added PC and streaming to lower tiers. They want you to buy the lower tier. They have made the lower tiers way better value for money. The logic in that is that Xbox fans would downgrade their newly renamed premium tier, and so that every copy, they even copied the name that Sony uses for that service, and they were hoping that Xbox Premium at $15 would look like a good deal compared to PlayStation Premium at $18. They both have first-party games 1 year after launch, but instead many people have canceled. Xbox gamers are just tired of the U-turns and pivots. You can't just you can't trust what Microsoft say, and you really have no idea what Microsoft is going to do for tomorrow. There's a lot of really great points here, Cargo Runner, but there's a little bit I got to push back on. So I think you're spot on in your comparisons to PlayStation and what they offer on PlayStation Plus is actually really sound and appreciated added context. And I think you bring a lot of value to this conversation with those points, for sure. The naming conventions being similar, the fact that PlayStation has become more like Game Pass over the years, but in a way kind of better in some sense. And what Xbox has done is tried to become more like PlayStation's subscription service. And you're right. My only thing in which I also agree that, yes, it's just that no matter what, people can't trust Xbox anymore because they're constantly saying one thing and doing another. They talk too much, they put their foot in their mouth, and they have no direction because the plan changes every day. So I agree 100%. The point where I kind of have to push back a little bit with you is that I want to agree with what you're saying, that Microsoft want you on the lower tiers because that way you're subscribed, they make that subscription revenue, but then you're going to go buy games a la carte and they're going to make way more money selling you games than if you just get all their games in Game Pass. And that way they can have the advertising punch of like, yeah, we have all the games included in one price with Game Pass Ultimate. But in reality, they hope you buy a console, you subscribe to a lower tier, and then you buy $70 games a la carte so they can make real money. So while I want to say that, yes, I think you're right, that there's a lot of truth to that, that narrative serves a plan in which Xbox is concerned with trying to sell consoles and maintain the status quo as a main competitor in the home console space. But considering the fact that Xbox is so clearly not concerned with home consoles and are willing to fucking bet the farm and destroy everything on this, I don't know that I think that that's true, because at the end of the day, I think Game Pass is the product for Xbox. They want you to subscribe to Game Pass Ultimate and play it on a TV and a tablet and all that shit. That is what they're trying to sell you more than anything. And that's why they're willing to let the home console die, is because they just want you on Game Pass. So You know what I think is that the fact that when you speak about this, it sounds so logical and coherent, and then when I speak about it, I also like to think what I'm saying also makes a lot of sense considering what we know about Xbox right now. I think it just kind of is a beautiful example of what we're both talking about here, which is that Microsoft has no goddamn direction, and every day the plan changes. So there's no telling if you're right, if I'm right, if we're both right, if Microsoft has no clue what they're doing, if they're just trying any and every option, and we'll see what works out, and then they'll go with the one that makes the most sense for them. It just doesn't add up, and nothing they're doing has any coherency behind it. And I think that is at least the one thing we can all agree on here, right? But thank you for writing in, Cargo Runner. I do really appreciate that perspective on the topic. Now let's get into our last comment from Mr. Sam Frito. It's a hefty one, so buckle up. I'm going to read it from the top. So let's go now. All right, Sam says, Jesse, I see your point about Game Pass. What it is, how its experimental approach may sink Xbox. Game Pass prices increase doesn't really bother me as much. We knew that the perceived value, whether 15, 20 bucks, etc. The problem to me is that the all you can game for one price, regardless of cost, does put me in an unhealthy relationship with gaming. I don't see playing 4 games at the same time as a problem, but when you throw another 2 day one games in that I was looking forward to, shit, it's diabolical levels of mental clutter. I like describing it that way. That's very good. How do I remember what games had the control scheme? Dumb example, but it's not the only thing playing way more does to our brains. The traditional way of buying the games you want seems like Dr. Phil lying to his wife about not liking anal, but too much of a good thing it makes Phil's dick stink. There goes Sam. I could spend $1 a day on Game Pass and be quite okay with it, but not getting to play games I've already set my sights on that I purchased changes it slightly. Now I want to not waste a second on something that I might find unique as I play it in favor of something new that Game Pass service emptied into the trough, and Matt Booty screams, come and get it, like it's a form of mindfuck. So I'm taking an experiment into my own hands for the next 30 days. I'm going to choose a new game from Game Pass that I've never played and see if it's delivering a decent satisfaction level, and repeat with the second game of the day. If I get hooked on at least one game once per day, my dollar will be well spent. To be fair, I'm not going with anything that is part of a series, no sequels, no nothing that relates to a mascot movie TV show. I haven't thought it all out. I haven't thought out all the parameters, but 30 days is not a huge investment. If I make all 30, I get shit on more. I can shit on Morgan Spurlock's supersize me ego trip. Hey, too soon. Seriously though, this makes my lifelong gamer hate it. This may make a lifelong gamer hate a lifelong fantasy of never-ending games, or I could pledge my soul to Xbox and become sedentary and die with psychosis. Epitaph ideas are welcome. One exception, actually, 2 exceptions. I will play Ninja Gaiden 4 and Outer Worlds 2. A bag of dicks is a loss to a castrato. No sense in rubbing it in his face. Sanfrito, while you write in a way that is either too erratic or too intellectual for me to follow in its entirety, I do find this to be a really fun read, and I think that you, again, put a lot of fun perspective on the situation. Now what I really am interested in is how this experiment plays out for you. So you're going to play a different game every day for a month and see how it works with Game Pass. Listen, we all have to determine. I think what you're doing is fun for the entertainment value. Honestly, it sounds like a YouTube video. I played a different game on Game Pass every day for 30 days. You know, it's like, oh my God, you can just see the fucking thumbnail with you like putting your hands on your head with the Wojak face. You're, whoa, and like in the background's like your Xbox with like a stack of games and you're overwhelmed looking. But anyway, here's the thing. We all got to determine what the value is. It's not value in the sense of for $30 a month, you can access $7,400 worth of video games. It's not that. We know that the value is in Game Pass. If it's $30 a month, the amount of games and the price of the games included and everything, it's worth the money. There's no doubt about that. It's just about for $30 with access to that library, can you make it make sense for you? And you know, for me, what it comes down to is it's like, yeah, when Keeper and Ninja Gaiden and all these games come out, I'm not going to have them all on day one and at the same time, but I'm going to feel good about I'm playing Battlefield. Just let me enjoy this for a while. And then when I'm ready to move on, it's like, okay, I'm playing Keeper. Just let me enjoy this for a while. And then when I'm ready to move on, okay, I'm playing Black Ops 7. I'm just, and then, oops, I missed Ninja Gaiden. I'll come back to that when I come back to that. It's okay. And then I just don't have to have that stress of like, oh, I'm subscribed, but this just came out, but I'm in the middle of this, and I don't have time to finish that before that comes out. And it just eliminates that problem. If you want to look at the value in the perspective of, well, hey, can this service bring me a new and unique and exciting and engaging experience every day, even if I play something completely different every time I log in here? I'm sure you can find the answers probably yes to that question. I'm sure that's probably what you'll reach at the end of your experiment. But of course, I do want to know how it goes for you, and please do write in and tell us. It's just that, it goes back to that healthy way to have a relationship with Xbox and with gaming. It's like, is that something you want to do? Is that what you want to do? Do you want to be the guy that plays a different game every day and doesn't complete it, but just moves on to something else so you can taste make? Or do you want to get lost in a game that you really, really enjoy, and then when you're ready to move on, move on? And there's no right or wrong answer. It's just that I just think that the way Game Pass pressures us to enjoy gaming and to interact with gaming is not in it just doesn't harmonize with the way we've all been brought up with games. And I think that is a serious dilemma for Game Pass, and something they're going to have to really struggle to overcome as they continue to raise prices, and as time becomes more and more of a precious competitive commodity for most consumers. What was it Brad Smith said? Washington, D.C. would be so wise. It would be common sense for us to have 1 million games and no time to play them, and that the gamers are winning right now. The gamers are winning because they would never raise the prices on Game Pass, even though they raised the prices, and that is why Ninja Gaiden 4 is going to be the best game of the year. So anyway, that's it for all the comments this week, guys. I think we've wrapped it up. That's another episode of Xbox On in the books. My jaw hurts from talking so much, and I want to drink some water and go to bed soon. So I'm going to wrap it up here, but thank you all so much for commenting, listening, subscribing, writing in, like, seriously, shout out again to Mr. Deus Acosta. Sorry if I'm butchering your name. I appreciate the new listeners out here letting me know that you guys exist. That means the world to me. And then just seeing, of course, the familiar faces, Jay, Compassionate Choice, Cargo Runner, Sam Frito, all you guys. Always appreciate you guys. It means the world to me that people out there support the show. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Stay safe, eat some yummy food, enjoy some Sonny's barbecue, enjoy some sunny weather. I don't know, depending on where you live, the weather's starting to get kind of nice in some places. So be good, be safe, and until next week, power your dreams.